Olympic National Park looks like one place on a map. It isn't. What appears to be a single park is actually three separate ecosystems divided by climate, elevation, and geography so completely that they might as well belong to different continents. The rainforest, the mountains, the coast, same boundary, same name, operating under entirely different ecological rules. This is not diversity. It is contradiction. The map problem. Why coherence is an illusion. Olympic National Park appears unified on paper. A large protected area in Washington state's northwest corner, bounded by the Pacific Ocean on one side, mountains rising through its center. But the map is misleading. There are no direct roads crossing the park's interior. None. To travel between its major regions, you don't move through the park. You go around it. Highway 101 loops the entire peninsula, connecting edges while avoiding the center, which means the park is not experienced as a single landscape. It is experienced in fragments. You enter one environment, then leave it, then re-enter something completely different. Not a transition, a reset. World 1. The rainforest and the rain shadow. Most visitors begin with the Hoh Rainforest, one of only a few temperate rainforests in North America. Annual rainfall exceeds 140 inches. Sitka spruce and western hemlock rise over 300 feet tall. Moss covers nearly every surface. Some trees here began growing over 500 years ago. But this rainforest exists in a very specific location. It is not distributed across the park. It is trapped. The Olympic Mountains form a barrier. Moisture from the Pacific moves inland and rises as it hits the range. As it rises, it cools, condenses, falls as rain, almost all of it. By the time the air crosses the mountains, it is dry. This creates a rain shadow. On the west side of the range, dense rainforest. On the east side, dry forest, open land, near arid conditions. This mechanism is called orographic precipitation. Moist air rises and cools approximately 3 degrees Fahrenheit for every 1,000 feet of elevation gain. In Olympic, that elevation change is abrupt, over 6,000 feet in roughly 8 miles. The air is forced upward, cooled, and nearly depleted of moisture on the windward side. This creates a precipitation cliff, not a gradual transition. Places like Sequim, just outside the park, receive less than 20 inches annually. Same region. Same. Latitude. Completely different climates. This is not variation. It is division. World 2, the mountains and endemic species. At the park center, the Olympic Mountains rise abruptly from near sea level to over 7,900 feet. Temperature drops. Vegetation thins. Snowpack dominates much of the year. Over 250 glaciers exist here, remnants of a colder climate, slowly retreating. Unlike the rainforest, which is defined by growth, the mountains are defined by exposure, wind, ice, open ridgelines without shelter. But the critical difference is isolation. These mountains are not connected to any larger range, not part of the Cascades, not part of the Rockies. They stand alone. Because of this isolation, Olympic contains species found nowhere else on Earth. The Olympic marmot exists only in these mountains. The Olympic chipmunk shares this isolation pattern. Roosevelt elk inhabit the high meadows, but do not descend into the rainforest. Coast range goats cluster on isolated peaks with no genetic exchange with Rocky Mountain populations hundreds of miles away. Each was trapped by geographic barriers, the mountains, the ocean, the distance, and evolved separately. This is forensic evidence of separation. Not just different ecosystems, but different evolutionary lineages. The park does not contain biodiversity. It contains multiple, non-communicating evolutionary experiments. World 3. The coastline and active erosion. Then there is the third world. The coastline at locations like Rialto Beach does not resemble the rainforest or the mountains. There are no wide, sandy shores. Instead, sea stacks, massive rock formations rising directly from the ocean. These are not placed here. They are what remains. The coastline is eroding constantly. Waves carve into the land, isolating sections of rock that become stacks. Olympic National Park is often described as diverse, but diversity suggests variation within a single system, different parts that connect, overlap, and gradually transition. That is not what exists here. What exists is separation. Three ecosystems stacked within one boundary, but functioning independently of each other. The temperate rainforest is defined by constant moisture and uninterrupted biological growth. Dense canopy, moss-covered trunks, saturated ground create a closed system thriving on excess. The mountains operate under entirely different conditions. Elevation replaces moisture as the dominant force. Snowpack persists. Glaciers carve. Vegetation thins, then disappears. Exposure replaces density. The coastline operates under a third system altogether. Saltwater, tidal forces, constant wave erosion, sea stacks rise from the ocean. Forests collapse directly into the surf. The land itself is still being reshaped. These environments do not transition into one another. The rainforest does not gradually become alpine terrain. The mountains do not soften into coastline. Each begins abruptly. Each ends the same way. No gradual shift. No blending. No continuity. Just a boundary. The scale problem and the visitor experience. Nearly 3 million people visit Olympic National Park each year. Most try to see everything: rainforest in the morning, mountains by afternoon, coastline at sunset. It feels efficient, complete. But in compressing the experience, something critical is lost: scale. Because none of these environments are meant to be understood quickly. The rainforest is not simply a collection of trees. It is a system built on centuries of uninterrupted growth, where decay feeds regeneration and every layer supports the next. The mountains are not just elevation. They are isolation made visible, a landscape shaped by glaciers and separated long enough to produce species found nowhere else. The coastline is not just scenery. It is erosion in progress, a place where land is actively breaking apart. Each system operates on its own timeline, and each requires time to understand. Without that time, they collapse into a single idea: a park with variety, instead of what it actually is, three separate operating systems in the same boundary. The truth about what you saw. Most visitors leave believing they have seen Olympic National Park, and they have, but only in fragments. The rainforest, the mountains, the coast. Three experiences presented as one place. The map shows one park. Reality does not. Which means what you saw depends entirely on where you stood, and what you missed is everything that explains what you were looking at. If this changed how you see Olympic National Park, the guide linked in the description goes further. It's an alternative guide to the park built around everything this video couldn't cover: the Hoh rainforest beyond the main trails, the endemic species in the isolated mountains, and the active coastal erosion at Rialto Beach. Just click the link below to get started.